The end times. It is said that 50 years ago, when evangelism and respect for God were very strong, leaders of Islam discouraged Muslims from coming to America, simply because they feared the power of the gospel would convert Muslims to Jesus Christ. Now, in this day and age, this gospel power has been severely weakened by Americans more interested in pleasing others and themselves than pleasing Jesus Christ. Because of this weakening of the gospel, Muslims are flocking to America by the thousands. They are not here to escape Islam's repression, because if they were, they would not be building mosques to continue the same slavery that they claim to be escaping. The real agenda of these Muslims coming to America is to saturate this country with Islam and its ideology and eventually take it over, just like their God Allah commands them to do so in Surah 9 of the Quran. God warned us that we, his followers, would be grossly outnumbered in the end times. In Great Britain, persecution and harassment of the Bible believers have become so intense that a Christian legal group has appealed to the European Court for help. Doctors are disciplined for sharing Christ with the patients. Electricians and nurses are not allowed to wear a cross or display one in their work trucks or hospitals, while on the other hand, Muslims can display their symbol everywhere, and Islam is growing at a phenomenal rate there. Muslims are using the equality laws enacted over the past few years to eliminate discrimination and any resistance to their agenda. Remember, Muslims are mandated by their Quran to eliminate all religions other than Islam. If you look at Surah 262 and 569, the Quran indicates that all except Muslims will go to hell. Now in Surah 250 and 385, the Quran indicates that no other religion but Islam is allowed. That's proof of the pudding right there. So what makes these pastors promoting Chrislam think that they're going to change the minds of these Muslims? This has become an opportunity for them to take over the Western world, including America, and kill or enslave those who resist. Surah 839 in the Quran indicate that Muslims want to conquer and rule the world. Plain and simple. It's in English there, you can read it. In Europe, many dead and empty churches have been converted to mosques, and that is starting to take shape here in America also. Christian students here in America are frequently denied freedom to display biblical items and use Christian themes in their schoolwork. Yet, classes on Islam are freely allowed, and students have been suspended for refusing to participate in Muslim prayers and rituals. I'm not talking about Europe now. This is happening here in America, especially in California. In Surah 928, the Quran indicates that pagans, meaning all non-Muslims, cannot approach the mosque or go into the mosque. Yet we let Muslims go on the Christian church pulpits to read the Quran, a book that is anti-Jesus and anti-Christian. Surah 930 of the Quran says, God's curse be on the Jews and Christians, yet pastors in America are uniting and fellowshipping with these Muslims. If you look at Surah 61 and 60:13, commands Muslims not to take enemies, meaning non-Muslims, for friends. Yet Americans are letting these people take over our schools, courts, corporations, Washington, D.C., and our churches. Surah 58:5 indicate that all unbelievers will be punished, yet Americans still believe that Islam is a religion of peace. And I will note that this punishment does not come from Allah, their God, but from Muslims to non-Muslims, because Muslims have taken into their own hands the authority to kill all infidels and punish all sinners. Surah 9:119 commands Muslims not to pray for forgiveness of the infidel, yet pastors are saying that Muslims and Christians are the same. Surah 23:91 indicates that Allah had no son, yet some ignorant Christians still believe that the Muslim God Allah and the true Christian God Yahweh are the same. If you look at Surah 5:51, it calls Christians unjust, yet some Christians are giving Muslims the key to the house. Surah 9:38 and 9:39, and one other one which is 48:16, indicate that Allah will punish all those who refuse to fight or go to war. War meaning any war against the infidel, meaning against Jews and Christians, and everyone else who refuses to submit. This is the so-called religion of peace that we are brainwashed into believing. If Muslims are truly escaping the tyranny of Islam, shouldn't they be turning to Christ for help instead of demanding that more mosques be built here in America? If you still don't think that Islam is a repressive religion, then read Surah 4:34, 6:39, 14:4, and 16:9, which commands Muslim men to beat their wives to keep them under submission and under control. Only the power of gospel can turn things around, but Satan is not about to allow this to happen. You can make a difference here in America. You can stop being politically correct and put God's friendship first over man's. You can pray and let your elected officials know that you're not about to stand idle while this great nation goes down the dumps. Movements like Chrislam are deceiving many Christians into believing that Christians and Muslims are worshiping the same God, which is a big lie. This is a flat-out lie that Satan is using to confuse Christians. If you look in the Holy Bible, the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 3 says, "Can two walk together unless they are agreed?" We still have time to turn the tide around, but we must act fast. We must turn to Jesus Christ for help and turn away from our selfishness and ignorance, and of course our greed. Let us pray that God has mercy on this nation, because America is the last Christian stronghold in the world. If Satan succeeds in tearing it down, then there's no turning back. This ignorant live and let live attitude will eventually destroy all of us. If we turn back to God, then He will heal the land and make us victorious over Satan. Now, due to our disobedience, our selfishness and greed, we're being destroyed little by Satan. But that doesn't have to be. Let us pray for healing of our great nation. Let us pray to God so He can turn this nation around again and stop Satan from taking over. Remember, we have the power through prayer to make this happen, but we're not doing it. If you would like further information concerning this and other topics, please feel free to visit my website at endtimes.us.com. May God bless you, and until next time, Lord willing.